So here I am in sunny Florida, where I live. I just thought I'd go for a little walk here and take you through my neighborhood. So I hope everyone in YouTube land is having a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and Happy Holidays and all of that. Boy, it's beautiful here. It's 10 in the morning as I'm walking, and it is gorgeous out. Not a cloud in the sky. It is actually, I just checked the weather. It's about 20 degrees Celsius. That's about maybe 60, almost 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Hello. It's December 25th. It's Christmas here, and it's really amazing. This is the best time of year in Florida, here in the Tampa Bay area. You know, everyone else in the country is freezing their butts off. And here in this gorgeous part of the United States here, it's really nice. The summers are brutally hot though. As you can see, not a cloud in the sky. Anyway, I usually walk a couple miles every day, usually in the morning, a nice brisk walk, maybe with some little bit of jogging mixed in or something. So anyway, I like to go walking and plan my days and plan what I'll be doing, like on the piano and on YouTube and on the Well-Rounded Pianist. By the way, lifetime memberships are still available on my subscription website, the Well-Rounded Pianist. So you're welcome to go over there and sign up. You can also sign up for monthly and yearly memberships. So you can do that. I'm still working as I speak now. I'm still working on my very detailed, long and detailed tutorial series on Mazeppa by Liszt, which I worked on a lot about 30 years ago and kind of put it down. I didn't touch it for a while, for many years actually. Sight Reading in Harmony. It's still selling really well. If you don't have your copy, you can still get your copy. And the BachScholar store on the BachScholar website is still having its sale. 20% off sale until the end of the month, till the end of this December 2021. So you're welcome to go over there and purchase any sheet music, digital or hard copy. The hard copy books are printed and shipped by Subito Music Corporation. Boy, you know, it's like about 70 degrees here Fahrenheit, around 20 Celsius. But man, when the sun shines on you, it feels like it's at least 10 or 15 degrees warmer. It's getting pretty warm out here on December 25th. So anyway, sight reading. A lot of people are interested in becoming great sight readers. That's sort of what I'm known for now with my best-selling book, Sight Reading in Harmony. Sight reading, it's very important, but it's not everything. Okay? You have to understand that sight reading is a means to an end. A means to an end. So you need to know how to sight read well, because that's going to enable you to learn pieces faster and learn more pieces and expose yourself to more music. That's the main goal of sight reading. So it's not an art in itself, but rather it's a means to an end. You want to learn to sight read so you can learn more music from more styles and have more fun at the keyboard than at the piano. But once sight reading is done with, once you've passed that stage of just sight reading a piece, it's not sight reading anymore. You need to think about how you want to interpret that piece. And the faster you can get to interpreting pieces, the better. You know, I've seen it happen a lot of times where piano students will stagnate with the note reading, and they're still struggling with the reading of the notes, but they don't think about how they want to shape the notes, or what types of colors or dynamics, or what kind of pedaling they want to add to those notes and chords. That's really important. Interpretation is very important. That should come as quickly as possible after the sight reading stage. The sight reading is important, yes, but sometimes I think a lot of pianists overvalue sight reading. Like I said, it's a means to an end. But once that's done with, you need to start thinking about how you want the music to sound. And it doesn't have to even be up to tempo. You can think of interpretation and pedaling. Pedaling is often neglected. It's usually just forgotten about. It's not a very often discussed topic, but it's very important, is pedaling. How do you want to pedal things? What kind of balance do you want between the hands? And that sort of thing. It's very important. So I encourage you, all of you pianists out there, to really think about the type of interpretation you want in your musical works that you're practicing. Another thing that's important is the way that you organize your practice time. You know, I get a lot of questions from students and followers online as to how do you juggle so many pieces at once? And my answer to that is you need to really think of it as cycling pieces through many weeks and even many months and even many years. So there's what we could probably refer to as sort of microcycling. Microcycling is what I would say a practice cycle throughout, say, 1 week, 1 or 2 weeks. A little bit larger of macro cycles would be throughout the course of a few months or even a few years. So there's different types of cycling. But what you want to do is make sure that you're cycling your pieces, your repertoire, your exercises, if you're doing exercises. That's including sight reading exercises. Make sure you try to cycle these things throughout whatever period of time you consider that cycle to be. So for example, let's say you're working on 6 pieces and you have, let's say, a bunch of scales and arpeggios that you're trying to learn or work on. Do not do everything in one day. Do not expect to do all your scales and all your arpeggios and all 6 pieces in one practice session in one day. The best thing to do is to take perhaps one or two scales and arpeggios. I like to work by keys, so take 1 or 2 keys. Let's say A major and A flat major, or their parallel minors. Say G sharp minor and A minor along with that. And just take a couple of keys, major or minor, and then just work on those one day. Let's say 20 minutes or so on the scales and arpeggios or whatever other exercises you're working on. 20 minutes on those. What's this? There's some snow, fake snow here.
Hi.
Hello.
What are you doing?
Oh, just making a video. Is that snow? That's cool. It looked like feathers. There's like walking down the street and there's like these feather looking things, and that's this kid. Looks like a 12-year-old kid making snow from his fake snow machine. And we do need that in Florida here because, my God, the weather is gorgeous here. This is the time to visit Florida. Like, say, if you ever go to Orlando and visit Disney World in Orlando, do not go in the summer if you can anyway avoid that. Do not go in July or August. It is actually brutally, brutally hot there, especially if you're coming from Europe or cooler parts of the world. You want to go to Florida or Orlando, Disney World. You want to go, best time to go is October, November, December, January. So pretty much in the late fall, winter, that's the time when you want to go. It's gorgeous weather. And this is the dry season too. So we don't get much rain here in Florida, in this part of Florida. It's very dry, not a whole lot of rain from October until about March. And then from April, it starts raining a little more. We get the most rain in July and August. Some in June also. But mostly in July and August. It really, really downpours here. Anyway, let me get back to my topic at hand here. So let's say you're cycling some exercises and pieces. So you want to take 2 keys for maybe 20 minutes or so. Take a couple of sight reading exercises, like say from my sight reading and harmony book. Work on those every day. Then out of your 6 pieces that you're trying to learn or you're working on, just choose 2 of them for one day. Work on 2 of them in detail so you can get a whole lot more done of quality practice time if you just devote it to, say, 2 pieces out of 6 rather than trying to do all 6 pieces in one practice session. Even if you have 2 hours to practice, just think of all the detailed work you can get done on just 2 pieces and not all 6 pieces. Then the next day, let's say that's on Monday. So on Monday, you do your couple of keys of... I'm actually starting to breathe a little hard here. I'm walking pretty fast and talking, so that's why I'm breathing a little bit here. But so let's say on Monday, you do your, say, 20 minutes of scales and arpeggios, say 10 minutes of sight reading exercises. Then let's say you have another hour and a half to practice. Let's say you have 2 hours. Then you could probably spend like 45 minutes on one piece, 45 minutes on another piece, and you're done for that day. You can break that up. If you break up the 2 hours throughout the day, then you would proportion the practice, so forth. Then on Tuesday, you maybe choose, if you're not totally satisfied or you don't feel really great about those 2 keys for scales and arpeggios or the sight reading exercises, you do those again. Just do them again the next day. And then if you feel good about what you've done on your 2 pieces on Monday, on the practice, then move on and pick 2 more of your pieces and do those on Tuesday for the same amount of time. If you don't feel good about your 2 pieces, or you feel you really need to solidify some things in there, then do them again on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, move on to your next 2 pieces, and then your exercises, and so forth and so on. So you're cycling. That's bright. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm sort of squinting right now. I do wear glasses, by the way, mostly for driving, and also for when it's bright out. My prescription glasses turn into sunglasses also, so I actually should have worn those, but I didn't think it would be so bright out because it's sort of early in the morning, or it's around 10:30 in the morning. Anyway, that's what you do. You cycle things throughout the weeks and throughout the months and throughout the years. And then people will often ask, well, how do you keep up all this repertoire? Like they'll ask me, now I have thousands of videos on YouTube, many of them memorized. I like just playing with music now. I don't memorize too much anymore because it takes too much time and I want to get more things done. But people ask me or wonder, how do you get all this repertoire under your fingers? Well, I have a formula down for, at least for the making of my YouTube videos, and that's that I work hard for however long I need to work on a piece. Let's say a Scott Joplin rag. Well, most of those Scott Joplin rags I've played, hundreds of times before. I've recorded them before. Most of the Scott Joplin rags I record now are the second or even third recordings of them. So it doesn't take very long at all for me to relearn that rag. If it's something I've recorded a couple times already through the years, it really will only take a half a day, maybe just a couple hours, maybe even 1 hour, just to brush up on it. And then I brush up on it, then I record it again. If it's a piece that is not so readily under my fingers, like say Liszt's Mazeppa that I'm doing the tutorial series on now, and whenever I'm ready, I'll probably record that. And up to speed performance, well, it takes time. I'm in no rush. I'm in no rush. So I just give it time. Just practice bits and pieces throughout the weeks and see what happens. If I'm not ready to record it, I won't record it. Because, I'm very busy with teaching and preparing books and sheet music and so forth. So it's really a luxury for me to be able to sit there hours at a time at the piano, as I've mentioned in other videos. So, it's not a big deal for me, but for younger pianists who are up and coming and want to hit the concert stage and become concert pianists, there's a nice house with a Santa and some music going on there, is, if you're a young up and coming pianist and you want to go the concert pianist route or the competition route, you need to cycle things throughout the months and the years. So you take works like, Liszt's Transcendental Etudes or Chopin Etudes or Beethoven sonatas or whatever you happen to be working on, and sometimes you just have to let them go. You let these pieces go. You work on it really hard and intensely for, say, 3 months. Let's say you have it at almost performance level in 3 months. Well, then there comes a time when you just have to let it go. Forget it. Forget the piece, move on to something else. So move on to another couple pieces or a handful of pieces. Work on those for, say, 3 or so months. You get those up to maybe close to performance level or so, or maybe 70% performance level. And then you drop those, move on, do something else. So see, you're cycling those pieces throughout. So concert pianists they can't just sit down and play anything from a selection of 1,000 pieces. And, in my YouTube videos, I can't just sit down and just play and just whip off pieces I recorded 10 years ago. I just can't do that. I admit it. I have to relearn the piece. Most of the time, though, it doesn't take terribly long to relearn the piece. But I can't just sit down and play anything I want. And most performing concert pianists can't do that either. They need to work on things. Let's say Joe concert pianist records something for a record label, records it, 5 years later. If they haven't touched it, and 5 years later, they probably won't be able to play it anymore. They need to review it for several days, maybe several months, or several weeks perhaps. So, serious pianists who are, going the competition route or the concert pianist route are constantly working on things and relearning things and always working on new material and always reviving old material. It's a constant, never-ending process. I like to say that nothing is ever finished. Nothing is ever finished. When I hear pianists say, well, I just finished this. I finished this Beethoven sonata. No, you didn't. You didn't finish it. Nothing is ever finished. Okay, if I record something 10 years ago, maybe it's finished for that period of time. But now it's 10 years later, I'm 10 years older, I may have a totally new interpretation of the piece. I approach it differently. I may even play the tempo much differently than I did 10 years ago. But that's okay, because we're always evolving. You're always evolving. Nothing is ever cast into stone. You have to understand this. Nothing is ever finished. Get that in your minds. It's very important. So, This is what I tell my students on the well-rounded pianist. I made a video, I have a couple videos where I talk about repertoire and the learning of pieces and keeping up your repertoire. And every time, without fail, I advise that nothing is ever finished. You're going to be working on everything until you are no longer on this earth, or until you aren't able to play the piano any longer. The great pianist Claudio Arrau is one of my favorite pianists. Claudio Arrau, great, legendary 20th century pianist. Well, Claudio Arrau did not even, he made a recording of Liszt's Transcendental Etudes, which I really love. And many people don't know this, but Claudio Arrau was in his 70s. I'm not sure exactly how old, but I know he was in his 70s when he first recorded Liszt's Transcendental Etudes. Okay, so he wasn't in his 20s. He wasn't some young hotshot who just won a competition and he records them all when he's 25. No. Claudio Arrau recorded all of Liszt's Transcendental Etudes, an excellent recording, by the way, when he was in his 70s. Okay, that is the sign of dedication and lifelong work. So I'm sure that Claudio Arrau knew and was very familiar with the philosophy that nothing is ever finished. Nothing is ever finished. You'll be working on everything until you can either no longer play the piano or you are no longer on the earth. In a way, it's kind of depressing, but in a way, it's very kind of frees you up. Actually, I think it's trying to think of the right word. It's a very positive way to think about things if you say if you're working on something for your whole life. You're working on it for your whole life because it's not finished. It's never ever finished. Even if you get the perfect recording of it, even if you record it to exactly how you want it and it's perfect when you're 30 years old, well, when you're 50 years old, 20 years later, I guarantee you are going to approach that piece differently than you did when you were 30. If you record it when you're 50, I guarantee it's going to be different than when you recorded it in your 30s or when you're 30. So I'm just speaking through experience here. So, let me see, I've walked, how far have I walked now? I think I've walked about, a mile and a half. Probably a mile and a half, maybe. It's about 2 kilometers, I think I just walked today. Beautiful day, but I think I touched on the issues I wanted to talk about. So let me just summarize here. Remember that sight reading is not everything. You need to get to interpretation as quickly as possible, either during that sight reading stage or shortly after the sight reading stage. My second point is that you need to cycle exercises and pieces. Do not try to do everything in one day. Quality is always better than quantity. So work on quality, work hard on the quality, and cycle things. And then throughout the months and years, it will turn into quantity. So the quantity will sort of evolve on its own accord. And the third point I wanted to make was nothing is ever finished, both for amateur pianists, student pianists, as well as seasoned concert pianists and young artists wanting to go the competition or concert pianist route. Nothing is ever finished. Everything gets cycled throughout the months and years. Boy, that was a great walk. And a great talk, too, on this very Merry Christmas 2021. And the absolutely gorgeous day in Florida, here in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. Not a cloud in the sky. It's probably over 20 degrees now. Probably around 21. It should get up to 24 degrees Celsius today. That's a good 75 Fahrenheit, but when you're in the sun, it feels like 80 or even 85. But it's a gorgeous day. So if you ever come to Florida and visit, you want to do that in October through around February. Avoid Florida if you can in the summer. It's not very comfortable. And here I am back at my house here. That's what it looks like here. Nice neighborhood. I live in a really beautiful neighborhood. Beautiful sort of middle-class neighborhood here in St. Petersburg, Florida. This is what my neighborhood looks like here. Actually, I'm going to take a walk before I finish. Take a walk around the house here. I'll show you where it all happens. This is where it all happens, right here. This, right here, is the window. That's the window right here, where it all happens. My Steinway is right in there. I'm in the corner room here. My Steinway is right in there. Beautiful lush grass here in the back. So thank you for viewing this video and for allowing me to come into your homes on this beautiful Merry Christmas 2021. And I have to go in and get some water now, perhaps some coffee, and unwind a little bit. Until we meet again.